In this video, I'll show you how to create a simple Superman style heat vision in Blender. We'll use a combination of constraint and dynamic paint with a little help from geometry nodes. Don't worry, it's beginner friendly. I have already set up a basic scene with a few meshes to act as targets for the heat rays. They're all in this environment collection. First, I add a Suzanne monkey to the scene. He's our Superman. Then I'll jump into edit mode. Select this vertex. This is where we want to shoot heat rays from. Hit Shift S, cursor to selected to place the 3D cursor there. Now back in object mode, I'll add a curve path. This will represent our heat ray. Go to edit mode. In edit mode, I'll enable curve normals to see the direction it's facing. Since we only need a start and end point, I'll delete the middle points with Ctrl X. Then I'll move the curve along the x-axis by 2 units to align the start point with Suzanne's eye. In object mode, I rotate the curve on Z, negative 90 degrees, so it faces forward. That's our first heat ray. To make the second ray, I repeat the same process on the other eye. Select the vertex, Shift S, cursor to selected. In the object mode, duplicate the curve with Shift D and snap it to the new cursor location using Shift S selection to cursor. Now select both curves, then Suzanne and parent them using Ctrl P, keep transform. So the rays move with the head. To make the heat rays focus on a single point, I select both these rays and Shift S, cursor to selected. This places the cursor in between both ray origins. Then in edit mode, I select the end point of one ray and move it to the cursor. With that point selected, I press Ctrl H, hook to new object. This creates an empty object that controls the curve's endpoint. You can see when I move the empty in the object mode, that endpoint of the curve move with it. Let's do the same for the second ray. I select its endpoint and move it to the cursor. Since we already have a hook object, we can hook that point into this existing empty. So select that empty, select the curve, make sure to select the endpoint and hit Ctrl H. This time choose the hook to selected object. Now both rays track the same target when we move the empty. We need to parent it to the monkey. Select the empty, then select the monkey and Ctrl P, keep transform. Now all we have to do is project this empty in the negative Y direction and the rays will automatically focus on that point. I position our Suzanne like this, facing the environment. To project the empty, first select it, go to Constraints tab and add the Shrinwrap constraint. Use the eyedropper to choose a target mesh. Immediately you can see the empty attached to the nearest surface of that object. But to get the desired result, change the mode to project and choose negative Y axis. Now the empty projects forward and locks on to the surface. I don't want to see these lines, so in the overlays I disable relationship lines. Now we have a clear view of the rays. As I rotate Suzanne, the heat rays follow its gaze and focus onto the selected object. But it ignores every other object. In situations like this where we have more than one object to target, we need some other ways to assign those targets. It would have been easier if we could assign a collection or a collection instance to this. Unfortunately, that is not supported by this constraint. So we'll need to cheat a little using geometry nodes. Don't worry, it's super simple. We'll only use like 2 nodes. I switch to Geometry Nodes workspace and add a new mesh object. I call it proxy environment. Create a new GeoNode setup. We don't need the input geometry. Delete it. To make a proxy of our environment collection, drag the collection into the setup. Set this to relative. This will import the collection as instances. To convert it to an actual geometry, drag from its socket and search for realize instances and add it to the setup. Plug it into the group output. And that's all for the geometry nodes. It basically makes a duplicate of our environment collection but in one object. Now select this proxy as the new Shrinwrap target. And just like that, Susan's gaze will target any object in that collection. Let's turn these curves into something visible. Select both, go to the curve properties, under geometry add depth bevel. Hold Alt to affect both curves at once. I make a new window from the side and change it to the shader editor. Select the object, make a new material and go to render view. For the material, I just delete this and add an emission shader. Strength of 10 and change the color to red. Select the other curve, shift select the curve we just added the material, and then in here select copy material to selected. We have the glowing material but we can't really see the glow, so for that click here and set the compositor to all base. Then change this to compositor and enable use nodes. Drag from here and add a glare bloom node. We have some blue in the scene. I set the strength to 10, increase the size and quality to high. Then slowly tweak the size to find something that feels right. To create the heat burn on surface, we'll use an image sequence generated by dynamic paint. So in order for that, first we need to UV unwrap the objects in the environment. There are a lot of unnecessary faces in these objects. So I select all the objects, go to edit mode and delete those faces that we don't really need for this scene. Then I go to UV edit in workspace. Select all the objects in the environment collection and make sure they all have uniform scale. If not, use Ctrl A and apply the scale. Go to edit mode and unwrap. Let's use the smart UV one. You need better UVs to get better results, but for this simple demonstration, this is fine. I select all the UVs, go to UV average island scale and then select pack islands. I'll add a slight margin. This determines the gap between each UV island. And hit pack. This will pack the textures a bit better. Now let's animate the heat ray. I enable auto keying and rotate the Susan around like this. 120 frames is enough for the animation. To make the dynamic paint image sequence, I use the proxy mesh we made. Hide the environment collection and enable the proxy mesh. Proxy will share the UVs from the collection. In the physics tab, click dynamic paint, then click add canvas. Change the format to image sequence. End frame is 120. Here it asks for a brush collection. For that, I select our empty, move the 3D cursor to it. Then add a UV sphere. Scale it down to roughly match the heat ray's size and parent it to the empty. This UV sphere will be our brush. Put the sphere in a new collection called brush. Now back in our proxy mesh, I assign that collection as the brush collection. Here we can add some effects. For this tutorial, I enable spread and reduce the speed to 0.25. Then set the initial color to color and I change it to black. This is our canvas color. Now select the sphere, add dynamic paint to it. This time select brush type and click add brush. Set the paint color to white and paint source to mesh volume. Everything else is fine. Back in canvas settings, here in the output, I select the UV map. By default, Blender will store the image sequence next to the blend file in a separate folder. 256 resolution is fine for now, and I hit bake. Enable our environment collection back. I select one of the objects and add a new material. Then add texture image sequence. Select all the images of the sequence we exported. Unfortunately, I haven't recorded that window. It will look something similar to this. Once it imported, enable auto refresh. I disable the compositor for now. Play the animation and you can see it painted the area where our brush is and slowly spreading it. To see it with the other objects, I assign the same material to all environment objects. To improve this image sequence, back in our canvas settings, I set the resolution to 512 and add one sub-step. Bake again. Usually Blender will not reload the texture sequence automatically. You can see here it says 256. So click this icon to refresh it. Now you can see this one is much better than the previous one. I enable the glow back and let's use this texture to make the surface burn effect. I add a color mix node and plug this to factor and adjust the colors. I want the impact area to be black. Plug it to base color. Duplicate this, set it to float and change the roughness value 0.2 and 0.8. What makes the biggest difference is the emissive path. For that, drag from here and add a color ramp. Change it to ease. Adjust the sliders like this to mask the edges of the spreading. Plug a multiply node after that and plug that to emission strength. I increase the emission value to, let's do 5 or 3. I change the color to match the heat ray. I can add a bump to the shader using this as well. I set the A to 0.5 and B to like 7. Actually, I use this for the factor. Then put a bump node here, plug that to normal. It won't be that much visible due to the emission. Optionally, you can improve this a bit more by distorting the texture. Hit Ctrl T to plug these two nodes. Add a noise texture. Plug it into object coordinates. Reduce its scale a bit. Then add a mix node to here. Change it to color. Plug this back. Plug the noise texture into the 𝒕𝒉𝒐𝒃. Change the blend type to linear light and reduce the factor to a really small value. Adjust the noise texture properties as well. Here is a before and after. If you notice texture bleeding like here, try improving your UV maps. Better UV maps with some gaps between islands would fix those issues. But for now, I am going to ignore them. You might be able to fix some of those by changing this to clip. And that's how you can make a cool Superman heat vision in Blender. Obviously, you can use this simple setup and improve upon it. As always, the project files are available for my Patreon members. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.